A fossil hey from the CFA. What's up, guys? Ashby Gale here, owner of Charleston Fossil Adventures and photographer and co-author of A Beachcomber's Guide to Fossils. Today, I am out at beautiful Folly Beach in the heart of the South Carolina Lowcountry to find some fossils that are dating up to 5 million years old. So let's go ahead, head out onto the beach, and see what we can find. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do when we set foot on the beach is come out here and look for where that line of shells is. We're specifically looking for shells that are about a ½ inch long to start looking for all of our shark teeth. Alright, so we already have our first couple of teeth right down here on the beach. We've got the crown of a lemon shark tooth right here. We have a reef shark tooth up here from something like a bull or dusky shark. And we even have a third one right here, a little different color there, also a reef shark tooth. And as you can see, they're the same size as all of the other shells down here on this stretch of beach. Now, one very important thing we noticed about the first two teeth is their color. They are a deep dark black, just like this rock. That is a piece of phosphate, calcium phosphate, which preserved the teeth. Because of that, they are turning into a very deep, dark black color. Does not mean that they are any older than that little third tooth that we found, kind of that cream reddish color with a little bit of blue in there. Super tiny to see there on the beach, but that's one of our main things we're looking for, is something that is a deep, dark black versus something that you might think would be black. These little gray oyster shell fragments, and these have just been stained by mud offshore in the oceans. They are not fossilized, and if we hold our pieces of phosphate right there next to them, we can see the difference between black items and gray items. Now, another thing that we're looking for out here are items with symmetry, where the left and the right halves are both the same. This little thing, while it might not look like much initially, is a set of teeth from a burrfish, which is a type of relative to the puffer and the porcupine fish. A lot of people, when they come out on the beach, they think they are looking for large white triangles, and often whenever we flip these over, we can see there are lines across them. So these are in fact just fragments of clam shells. And like we've said, we're looking for a deep dark black color like this with a little bit of shine to it. And also there are going to be some other shapes. Shark teeth aren't just triangles. We can find teeth with lots of different sizes. So I've got one right down here in this shell patch, and it is more of a skinny, long pointed tooth right here. That is a sand tiger shark tooth. We can see this one split right down the middle, revealing the interior of the bone of the tooth. But fish-eating sharks having these big, long, pointy teeth to kind of cage and snag at smaller prey items. Got to keep your eye out for all kinds of shapes out here on the beach. Right, so this is all great for smaller shark teeth whenever we're in these smaller shell fragments. However, if you're out here on the beach and you want to find some big teeth, let's go check out some larger shell material. One of the amazing things about Folly Beach is that from time to time, this trench opens up right down here at the low tide line. As you can see, there are lots of big, multiple inch long shell fragments, and if we look closely, there are even chunks of rock. So this is actually the 3 to 5 million year old limestone called the Goose Creek limestone that is responsible for all of the fossilized shark teeth and other marine mammal fossils that we find here on Folly. And when we get these big congregations of larger shell material and rock, on our beaches, that's when you know there might be a larger tooth hiding, and it's really worth paying attention to what is in all of these rocks. And there's more than just shark teeth out here on Folly Beach. Because of that 3 to 5 million year old limestone, we also get fossilized shells washing up here. And unique to Folly Beach is this oyster right here. This one is called Ostrea coxi. This is one of our teardrop oysters that we can find from the Goose Creek limestone. And Folly Beach is actually the second place in the world where this oyster can be found. It was originally described from a shell pit down in Florida. And even here in the Lowcountry, Folly Beach is the only place where this oyster washes out. Other exposures of the Goose Creek limestone do not have these shells. Now, how can we tell this one's fossilized compared to, say, some other white shell fragment out here? Well, on our oysters that are fossils, if we turn them over and you're looking at the inside of the oyster, you have all of this tan to light gray limestone stuck on the inside where the oyster was actually living. Because an oyster can't grow its inside onto a rock, it always attaches on the outside. We know that any shell that has rock on the inside is going to be fossilized, at minimum 3 million years old. All right, so there aren't just shark teeth out here. There are also mammal teeth. Here is a really cool item from the Ice Age. Check it out. Again, that super dark black color. This one is a section of a cheek tooth from a horse, probably about 100,000 years old. We have that really wrinkled sinusoidal enamel curving around on the tooth, just like the Mississippi River. Long enamel running down through the length of the crown. Awesome find if you know what you're looking at and what to keep your eye out for. All right, now another thing that you can keep your eye out for are these rock walls that extend into the ocean. Those are called groins. They're meant to prevent erosion on a larger scale. However, on a smaller scale, they actually increase erosion. And this boulder is doing an excellent example of this. If we take a look here, we have this big channel that has been eroded at the base. And you can see there's a lot of really big items in here. And what so happens to be hiding at the bottom of this little pool, but a very nice sand tiger shark tooth. Believe it or not, I think we've actually found a megalodon tooth right here, and it's been passed over by multiple people that have been walking this cut. Let's take a look at this thing. So again, it's sitting right next to a big rock, just like we talked about. And if we flip it over, yes, this is the root lobe of what probably was a 4 to 5 inch megalodon tooth right here. It's of course missing all the enamel, but if you know your shapes and what to look for, we can see that very distinct chevron pattern of the root, which is the part of the tooth that sticks into the jaw. And yeah, there we have our very own 3.6 to about 5 million year old megalodon tooth. Sometimes we can find some teeth that we know the minimum age that that tooth is. And right here we have exactly one of those. This guy belongs to the extinct long-toothed tiger shark, Physogaleus contortus, and at minimum is 5.3 million years old. So it's at the upper end of our Goose Creek limestone unit. And right next to it, right on over here, is this thing. It's sitting high and dry, and likely means that someone picked this up and discarded it. And what's cool about this is we can see it kind of has a bit of a conchoidal fracture here and here, so it's breaking just like glass or obsidian. It has this really kind of oval cross section, and it has a couple of holes going into it as well. That means this one is likely a coprolite, or a chunk of fossilized poop from the intestines of probably something like a marine crocodile. Prior to 2014, Folly Beach actually wasn't that great of a spot to find fossils, at least in comparison to today's standards. And the reason for that, and the reason for the abundance of fossils here on Folly Beach, is that in 2014, the Army Corps of Engineers did a beach renourishment or beach nourishment project where they pumped up sand to widen the beach so that it protected all of these homes here on the front row behind the dunes. Today, we've seen a lot of erosion on the beach, and so they're trying to counteract that. But in 2014, they went about 4 to 5 miles offshore, and they found this nice little sandbar offshore that they thought would be good material to replace the sand on the beach. However, what they didn't realize is that underneath that sand were billions and billions of large rocks, several inches across on many of them, and that is that 3 to 5 million year old Goose Creek limestone, which houses all of the fossils that we're going to find out there today. Now, when they pumped all of these rocks up onto the beach, we had a lot of shark teeth, whale bones, dolphin remains, and then a lot of Ice Age fossils wash in with them. And depending on the time of year and how erosion has progressed on Folly, you might see more or less of these rocks. But a lot of people, when they visit Folly, they come out and they look at these things and they think they're chunks of concrete or cement out on the beach. But if you look closely, there's going to be fossilized shell remains on the inside of them. Sometimes we see bones, and very rarely we can see shark teeth exposed on the outer surfaces of these cobbles. That's an example of a beach renourishment kind of gone wrong. We call it the botched beach renourishment of 2014. About every 5 years, Folly renourishes the beach. So in 2019, they pumped more sand up to make the beach bigger again. And that time they pumped it from the south end of the island. And unfortunately, for fossil collectors, that was just plain old sand. So we had to wait, honestly, about 11 months for that material from the 2014 renourishment to start being exposed again. Right now it's 2023, and we're seeing that kind of pre-2019 erosion level, and we are slated for another beach renourishment here within the next couple of years. It will be interesting to see how this beach changes after that renourishment, if we see a 2019 renourishment or a 2014 renourishment in terms of the material that gets pumped up. My guess, if I had to bet, it's going to be a 2019 renourishment again, with that fine sand that covers up our fossils, but time will tell.